Hey there everybody, this is Patrick and today I'm going to be breaking down UFC 217 GSP vs Bisping. So this weekend is the return of GSP after his 4-year layoff from fighting, and he's coming back to fight in a new weight class against the British middleweight champion Michael Bisping. One interesting thing to note is that GSP is coming into this fight as a favorite. One interesting thing to note is that GSP is coming into this fight as a slight favorite, which to me shows like not many people give the credit that Michael Bisping deserves in the fight game. He's on a 5-fight win streak, which includes big names like Anderson Silva and Luke Rockhold, and has only really lost to top opposition in middleweight, such as Luke Rockhold and TRT Belfort. Another interesting thing to note is that GSP and Michael Bisping both have a wonderful jab, but they don't use the conventional jab. They use something called the safety lead. Whereas a regular jab is something everyone has seen before, just a straight arm punch, the safety lead differs from the regular jab, as it is a jab as you step towards your left. This may seem like a bad idea at first, because one of the first rules that you learn in the fight game is that you should never circle towards your opponent's power hand, which is exactly what the safety lead does. So why would you even use the safety lead if it makes you an easier mark for your opponent's power hand? So first thing is that when you're using the safety lead, you're not jabbing in a straight line. When you take that step to the left, you take a slight angle, basically sidestepping your opponent's jab, meaning in a pure jab off, the safety lead should win every time. And after you use the safety lead, because you took that slight angle, there's now a shorter path for your own right hand, since by taking that step to the left, you line up your right shoulder with the opponent's center line. So there's still the problem of walking towards your opponent's right hand. And that's why when you're performing the safety lead, you must stay extra careful, making sure that you hide behind your lead shoulder and dip your head slightly downwards and to the right. This way your head is as protected as possible against your opponent's right hand. Both Michael and GSP love this form of the jab, however GSP's safety lead seems a lot more crisp and fundamentally sound. When he throws the safety lead, he's always hiding behind his shoulders, taking his head offline, and ready to bail on the jab if he sees anything coming back toward him. Bisping, on the other hand, throws the safety lead with his head high and doesn't keep his shoulder high at all. This is why it's been a common theme of Bisping to get cracked by his opponent's right hand in almost all of his fights, most recently when he got floored by Dan Henderson twice. The safety lead is extremely dangerous if you're not thinking about the technicalities that make it a safety lead. The next similarity is that both GSP and Bisping understand that the jab is perhaps the most versatile weapon in a fighter's arsenal. It can be thrown in so many different ways and with so many variations. One thing that they both excel at is that they both love to fake and feint a jab. Both of them will fake 3 jabs just to land one, or throw 3 non-committal jabs with none of the weight behind it just to get their opponent reacting and whiffing at air before they stun them with the real one. Bisping and GSP also love the underappreciated yet powerful lead hand double attack. When they have their opponents reaching the parry a jab, they'll step in, turn the shoulders as the jab, but throw a looping left hook around the opponent's guard. The ability to fake, feint, and throw non-committal jabs and build off them for other attacks is something you very rarely see in MMA, and GSP and Bisping both have some of the best, if not the best, jabs in MMA. The final common feature to both of these men is, for a lack of a better word, the absence of both these men's right hands. Bisping has always been referred to as pillowfist, and he's never had that one-hit knockout power, and most of his finishes come from overwhelming his opponents with sheer volume. GSP, on the other hand, who used to have an extremely high finishing rate, has seemed to have forgotten about his right hand after falling in love with the jab. The jab, for all of its versatility and being the most well-rounded weapon in a fighter's arsenal, is very rarely a knockout punch, although it is possible, because you can't swing your hips into it or put that much body weight into it as you would in another punch. If there is an area that GSP clearly has the advantage in, is that he has a lot more ways of attacking with the jab and has more setups off it. One of the most common is the Superman jab. Throughout the course of the GSP fight, it goes something like this. GSP will start fighting with a jab. As soon as he sees his opponents overreacting to it, he'll fake a jab and step in with a powerful inside low kick. Once he notices his opponent is starting to pick up the leg to check the kick, he'll fake a leg kick and then jump up into a Superman jab. And a Superman jab is basically just a power jab, as you can get a lot of torque swinging your leg back and hips forward like that. GSP also loves the level change jab, although level change jab is a level change while throwing a jab to the opponent's body or head. The reason this works so well is that a lot of fighters are scared of the GSP takedown. As soon as he does the level change, they'll bring their hands down, leaving their heads wide open for the upward jab. There's also the powerful takedowns of GSP. The reason why, even though he was never an accomplished wrestler in high school or college, he understands how to get someone's hands away from their hips to make it a lot harder for them to defend the takedown. The most common way GSP achieves this also plays with a jab. If an opponent is chasing GSP, he'll retreat and then step in with a jab, crushing an opponent's nose. Do this enough times, his opponent's hands are always going to be at their face, ready to block the jab, leaves their hips open. Next, GSP retreats, he stops. His opponents will overreact thinking that a jab is about to come, and instead he'll shoot for a powerful double leg instead. Or another variation of this technique is that he'll step back and throw the left hook. If the left hook lands, he knows that his opponents are going to raise their hands instinctively, and then he shoots for the takedown. If he doesn't land it cleanly, he will just grab a hold of his opponents, and as they try to strip his hands off him, he's already ducking in for the opponent's hips. And once underneath GSP, his control in the top position almost guarantees you stay underneath him for the rest of the round. Bisping is no slouch on the ground though. His grappling chops are not to be underestimated. Whenever we see him put on his back, he gets up really quickly, usually just simply pushing off his opponent's hips with his feet or using the cage to wall curl back up. Even a strong wrestler like Chael Sonnen had an extremely hard time holding Bisping down in their match. On the feet is where Bisping really excels. I've mentioned his jab being one of the very best, and that's because he understands that you don't have to step in every time with the full weight of your body to make it a good jab. Bisping is all about the economy of the jab. Always faking with the jab, so once you start reaching and overreacting, that's when he hits you with the real one. Another key to Michael's game is that it's always tiring to be in the cage with him. He's always doing something, always feinting and faking so you swing at air, which not only tires you out, but when you do throw a counter and Bisping isn't there, you're showing him what you're planning on doing. So now he's a step ahead of you in terms of what you're going to do, and now you don't want to throw the counter as often because you don't want to be showing him what you want to do. This makes your window to counter a lot smaller. You're taking your finger off the trigger, making the window of countering a lot smaller than what it used to be. And his jab is always touching your face, sometimes barely touching you and other times crushing your nose. Imagine if you were going for a run and every time you started to get your stride and rhythm, you get slapped in the face. It's tiring, frustrating, it makes you not want to run anymore. But too bad. Even when you want to take a break, you're still getting slapped in the face. The pace that Bisping puts on people is usually killer. Bisping has never been much of a one-punch knockout artist and never had that much power in his hand until he started utilizing the left hook more, which knocked out Luke Rockhold and knocked down Anderson Silva a couple times in their fight. If you try to circle away from Bisping, don't be surprised if you get hit by a left high kick or a left hook. If you try to circle other way, you're going to get met by a right hand. Something Bisping used to have a huge issue with was that he was only a jabber and people still circled away from his jab. Now that he's added a few more weapons to his arsenal, it makes it easier to stop his opponent and mark them up with a jab. A new weapon Bisping has shown in some recent fights is the lead low side kick. This is an amazing kick that not enough people are using, and it can cause havoc against a strong jabber. The low side kick to your opponent's lead leg is excellent because it's longer than your opponent's jab, it jams their attempt to step in as it essentially buckles their knee backwards, and the jab is a weapon that relies a lot on the front leg. If you can't set it down properly, or if your knee gets injured, you basically lost your jab. If Bisping were to use this a lot more than what he's shown before, it could be a nightmare for GSP. Now for the X factors, the two biggest factors coming into this fight. This is GSP's first fight in 4 years. Coming back and fighting after such a long time off, especially in a 5-round fight against someone who loves to put the pace on you, is a lot to ask for. Ring rust is a real thing. Very rarely do fighters come back and look the same. Even John Jones, probably the greatest fighter ever, came back after only a year and a half layoff to fight middle of the pack Ovince St. Preux and looked sluggish and not himself. And this is 4 years we are talking about. GSP says that he's been training those whole 4 years, but you can't really replicate a real fight in training camp. The closest thing you have is sparring, and even then you're not going 100%, and most of the time the person you're sparring isn't trying to finish you. The second thing is that this is going to be the first time that GSP comes in a significantly smaller man. GSP has always come in his fight as the larger, stronger man, which made defending takedowns and getting takedowns a little easier for him. Now is the reverse. Bisping has more weight and it helps him defend the takedowns as well. If he does get taken down, it makes it easier for him to get off the ground. Both are the best at understanding the jab. GSP has more versatility with his jab and perhaps a lot more powerful takedowns. Bisping's jab is always in your face, and Bisping always drives a furious pace on his opponents and has a weapon that can totally dismantle the jab, the low lead side kick, if he intends to use it. I didn't mention their right hands or the power they possess because both haven't been really a factor in either fighter's past couple of years. There are a couple other factors such as both men are pretty old per fighter, both of them have recurring injuries that have plagued their whole careers, such as GSP blowing out his knees almost every training camp, and Bisping basically fighting out of one eye because the other eye is so damaged. The biggest factor playing against GSP is that he's been away for such a long time. He's a smaller guy and he's facing someone who's going to drain you of all your energy and has a weapon that if he does use can stifle most of your entire offense. So my prediction for the fight is that I wouldn't be surprised if Bisping actually gets a finish in the championship rounds. That's all for this breakdown, a longer one than usual. Like the video if you did, comment down below your thoughts on the Bisping vs GSP fight. Comment whether you think Bisping is just a wannabe champion or has GSP been away from the game too long to win this one. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and I'll see you Sunday with a post-fight breakdown. Peace.